Okay.
Let's see, the time right now is, well, here we go. Time right now is 12:02. Today is June 21st, 2022. All right, first thing on the agenda is approval of minutes for May 10th, 2022.
I'd like to make a motion to approve minutes.
I'll second the motion.
Good, all right, approved. Everyone all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, approved. All right, second thing, review of May 2022 financials.
On your first page, this is a statement of activity for as of June. It shows our revenue of $19,500. We have QuickBooks payments of $109.05 for a total revenue of $19,390.95. That revenue is coming from sponsorships for Fandango. Then if you go over to the next page, this will show a statement of activity broken down. This is going to show where we're getting our revenue. Again, that $19,500 came in under Firecracker Fandango for sponsorships. And then our expenditures were the $109, and that is fees from QuickBooks. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we've got all online, correct?
The next page just tells you year-to-date as of June 21st. I know that you guys had stated in the previous meetings that you guys want to start getting monthly year-to-date as of where we're at. So as of June 21st, our total balance is $206,973.60. We have generated $56,928.58 since May.
Fantastic.
So a lot of that is going to be, all of that actually is going to be from Fandango. And then the next few pages kind of break that down as to where this money is being generated from. If you look at the third page, no, I'm sorry. It's going to be not on here. Well, I think what happened is that whenever we turned this page sideways, it cut off our Firecracker Fandango, which is that, right, it's just right cut off. What I can do is I can add that to July's board meeting and we can review it. But that money, I can tell you, is coming from sponsorships. Also, we're charging people to be food vendors $200, and we're charging people to be market vendors $200. So I think we've generated $38,000 from sponsorships. The remainder of that would be coming from food vendors and market vendors.
How are we doing on vendors? Good.
Yes, we're doing really good. We've closed out our vendors for both food and market.
Good. And cars, correct?
Yes, and cards. We got a lot. So we'll go over that.
Okay.
But yes, we're doing really well. Any other questions on financials? And I'll make a note to include the complete June in July's board meeting.
I guess number 3, we've got new business, discuss event coordinator position.
Yes, so we have hired.
First, I'd like to make a motion to approve the financials.
Oh, yeah.
Second?
Second.
Okay, so we have hired an event coordinator. We updated that position to be marketing/event coordinator. Mr. Morero approved that change. We got it posted. We interviewed 6 candidates and we chose, his name is Ben Farmer. He's gonna start August 8th. He's got a lot of experience in event coordinating. He's got experience with Adobe and making flyers and all of those things. He's done large-scale events, and we're really excited to get him started. So he's going to start August 8th. The reason that he's starting so late, one, is because June and July are really crazy in our office to try to train someone at the same time, and then he also has a fellowship in Oregon that he's completing in July, so he won't be here. So he's going to start August 8th.
Is he from here?
He is from here.
Okay.
Yes.
I was wondering why.
Yes, sir.
Working.
Did you just work with banks by any chance?
Not that I
No,
saw on his
no, no.
resume, no.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
He's event coordinator / marketing.
Yes, sir.
Okay, does that mean he's going to be over the fundraising?
That position is over the fundraising, yes, sir. So he's over the fundraising, he's over seeking out sponsorships, he's over coordinating all the events, he's over all of the marketing, trying to get all of our flyers together. So that position is a heavy position. Obviously, Audrey and myself, we all work as a team. We're a really small office, so we all kind of do everything, but his emphasis will be those things. We talked about in the hiring process, his experience right now, we're doing per event ask on our sponsorship. We talked about his experience in previous sponsorship, what he had sought out, and he agrees that we're going to move towards an annual ask. So he and I are going to work on that and have that ready by October, and we'll definitely present it to you guys and get y'all's input on things that you would like to see in that packet. We're going to try to create a whole packet of all the events and do a one-time ask at budget time at September, October. So he'll start August 8th. And then we have a new intern, Jashawn. This is Jashawn.
That's who called me this morning. How you doing, Jashawn?
Yes.
I was a little confused. I thought you were building electric.
Jashawn is our intern from UTPB, and he is already just blowing it out of the water. He's made all of our signage for Fandango. He's made all of our flyers for Hot Summer Nights and our social media. He's really just picked up the ball and started running. He's doing a really great job. And just kind of picks up wherever we need him to be, and we're very excited to have him as well. So welcome to Sean.
Awesome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
How long will your
I'll be here until August 12th, I believe.
August 12th?
August 12th. Yes. No, this was made by Creative Marketing Nerds, so this was already contracted before we got Deshaun, but Deshaun will made all of the sponsorship flyers that you're gonna see. He made all of the signage for like no alcohol in the park, all our main stage banner, our kids stage banner. He's done all of that, so huge help. And then like I said, all of our flyers for Hot Summer Nights, and if you guys are on Instagram, he's kind of taken over our Instagram. Typically we get about 50 views on Instagram. He recently started making like stories, I think is what they're called. Reels. Sorry. He started making reels for Instagram, and our last one got over 500 likes, which is not something that we're used to on Instagram. So we're already seeing a huge influx of social media because of his work there. So yes, we're very excited to have him. Next up, for discuss volunteer commitments for summer events. Really, we're just looking for volunteers for Fandango. So I know Alma and John have already committed, and I think Sean is committed to run the car show with his brother. And so we're just needing a few more volunteers currently. I think we have about 40, which we needed to have around 60. I think we've reached out to the PD and fire to see if they can help us with their cadets. If we can get their cadets to work the gates, that would be a huge help. But if you guys are going to be in town and are interested, just let me know and I can definitely plug you in. So thank you for those who have signed up already.
Yeah, I'd like to volunteer for more, but I'm not sure with the car show if it allows for it.
Absolutely, yes. And I think Audrey and I are going to get with you and Jamie later so that we can discuss when we want to do judging and presentations and all that, we'll get with you individually. So
Jamie's a very detailed guy. He
Good.
will get you.
Good.
That's why
Perfect.
I'm the big picture guy. That's why I said call Jamie.
Call Jamie,
He'll take
okay.
care of it.
We'll definitely get with you.
If I can get an Alexa so we can put in our newsletter,
Absolutely.
maybe some of our students
Okay,
would be willing to volunteer as well.
okay.
Sometimes our deans give them some credit for
That's cool.
attending.
That's cool.
Okay. We'll send that out to you today. And then I believe Mr. Morero was gonna discuss the Fandango map.
Good afternoon, everybody.
What's up?
It's been a while since I've been around this distinguished group. So I apologize for my absence. But I did want to address concerns that I think have been expressed regarding the footprint for the Fandango. And I want to begin with an apology. Obviously, my perspective is one in which I look at a number of things, a number of variables that are associated with any event. And there's some things a little different this year that we hadn't done in the past as it relates to Fandango. And I want to actually single you out, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your time and your input and your feedback that you've given me. I obviously have a much better understanding of what your perspective is, and I think the other members of the board. So I'll begin with an apology if you've felt like you weren't engaged in that process. I take full responsibility for that, and moving forward, we're certainly going to do things a lot differently. But I did want to talk to the board about why we wanted to make the changes and why we think that this is a much better, from not just a manageability standpoint, not just a volunteer standpoint, a traffic flow standpoint. One of the driving factors was obviously emergency response. Since we're closing 2nd Street, we've never really done that before. And then finally taking into consideration what we've been hearing from some of the other business owners. So first of all is the traffic flow. As I said, this is the first time that we're going to shut down 2nd Street. And while it's for a temporary period, it will only be probably an hour before, during, and then an hour after the actual fireworks. We want, as you all know, 2nd Street is the main corridor if you're trying to get emergency response back to the hospital. That will be shut off. And so as we were discussing with our staff and really kind of just looking at the entire footprint, we focused on 5th Street because, as you know, also 5th Street is also kind of a main line into the emergency room area. So from that standpoint, we felt it was important that we kind of reduce the footprint. And there were other reasons, and I'll get into the other reasons, but that was one of the driving forces, if you will, is that emergency response. Since we're going to shut down for the first time ever in our history 2nd Street, we're really concerned about kind of westbound emergency response coming that way. Obviously, when we looked at one of the things that we did, and specifically I had Casey and myself walk the area. I don't know if you guys have ever just kind of walked from every corner of what the footprint is. And you guys have been around as long as I have. There are some years that we have every inch of our footprint taken, and a lot of years we're not. It's too big of a footprint. One of the things that we were contemplated as we were looking at the design is manageability, and whether or not the space that we had was too large to be able to manage efficiently. Was it able to be programmed efficiently? As we walked it, there were some areas that we decided, you know what, this is going to be too hard to manage. I think one of the initial sets that you folks saw included Texas, for example. As we walked that and as we understood what was going to be on the ground, that no longer made any sense because, one, we didn't have the volunteers. Two, we didn't have the folks who would oversee what would be happening in those areas. And furthermore, I think the driving force on that is that it was somewhat isolated. I mean, it wasn't part of the larger package, if you will. As we kind of, so that became an issue, right, is how easily managed is this area. That, as I said, is coupled with volunteers. I think at the time that we were looking at it, we maybe had 12 volunteers.
Right.
So there was a real concern from our perspective as whether or not we would have enough people to man gates, to man stations, to ensure that the vendors were in the right place, that the market people were in the right place. So that was a driving force. And then the other, I guess probably the larger and probably the better, rather the overriding thing is that We had heard from previous events from some of the other owners that they didn't want to be part of a footprint. And Sean, I know you reached out to him, the folks who own the Cena Lense and the house in particular. I think their response to me at least is that, you know, we would rather not be part of that, because from our perspective, it hampers individuals coming in and out based on the hours, right? Because as you know, we're gonna have to shut down things early in order to get everybody in place. I think initially they may have thought, well, we'll just be closed for that period that the Fandango is going on. But as we explained that, you know, we have to kind of block off the area, I think their thought process changed. And there were a couple of more individuals who expressed a desire not to be in that. I know Mr. Harris here wanted to be in that, and I've talked to John, and certainly I'll offer my apologies to him as well. But as we kind of pull all of those things together, it made more practical sense, if you will, to have the footprint as we did this year. I think what we'll do as a result of this year's event is we're going to monitor. I mean, what really did the emergency response look like? You know, we'll go back and we'll ask the owners, you know, was that beneficial? Would you like to be included? I mean, obviously we can't include the entire downtown footprint, if you would, but you know, this way we'll do a post-analysis and visit it with those folks and see if that was beneficial, if that was hurtful, if they liked it, didn't like it, because that will then, I think, in discussion certainly with this group next year, we'll start making those decisions a little bit earlier on, so we're not pressed for time. And more importantly for me, folks, I need you to understand that we value this board. This board has always been a huge driving force for what happens in downtown. We want to continue that. And so you're certainly going to be part of that moving forward.
Well, my discussions with Mr. Rodriguez, and this is an issue we're going to have to deal with going forward.
Sure.
The tequilas and tacos. The issue he had was he was inside of the barriers. It wasn't so much being inside the barriers, is that it was $30 a head to come in. So they were going to pay the $30 a head to come in and then go spend another $100 and some odd to hang out at his place. That was his big issue. And, you know, when I talked to him, I said, you know, the Fandango thing is free and everything. And, you know, we even had discussions about him coming on the board and all that. He was kind of all for that. I'm not sure what changed or why he changed after that.
Yeah, I think what changed,
Yeah.
and when I explained what the process would be like, Sean, and then Mr. Rodriguez, rather, in that we would have to shut down.
Oh, you can call him Sean. I just called him Mr. Rodriguez, because I can't remember his first name, to be honest with you.
Is that I think what's understood that we're going to have to monitor what's coming in early on in the day. I think he felt that would hamper his daytime business.
Well, and that's one of the things that I've talked about that we will have to address in all the future events, because for me right now it's a non-factor because I'm not open.
It may be,
but what happens is if we do close the entire street down for something like that, for say the next event, and they're charging, you know, $25, whatever it is they're charging people to come in.
Sure.
Well, obviously if they're paying that kind of money, they're probably not going to come to my place and spend another $25 a person to eat or drink or whatever they do. So it is a concern that we're going to have to look at for all the businesses that are down there, because it's kind of
I would agree, and as we kind of plan for more events, I think those sort of things will drive decisions on where the events happen.
Yeah.
You know, I think all of you have read our master plan, and if you
Yeah.
look at the master plan, it really calls for a migration from Grant over to Texas.
Yeah.
What we're going to want your guidance on, is that the right decision? Because we still have a lot of businesses on Grant, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to have businesses on Texas, so there's going to have to be some level of acceptability, right? That some folks are going to be happy, some aren't.
Yeah.
But that is as part as we continue to grow, and as we continue to have events, that's something that we're all just going to have to analyze.
Yeah, that's something pretty valuable I learned from him on that, because, you know, I didn't even think about that it affected him that way.
Exactly. I mean, it could be positive and or negative.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I think everything that both of you gentlemen are saying are reasonable. They have merit, the pros and cons of all of that. I'm hoping that with the new position that we're getting, this marketing event plan position, that the conversation is able to start even earlier for these events, and we're not talking 2 weeks before the event, like we are today. Because I think what happens to me and my spirit about things is, you know, when something is put together, even if it's in draft, as soon as it hits paper, we all think it's final. And I think that's when then our personalities or our opinions start if they conflict with somebody else's, then
Sure.
that starts something there. And so I think too, if with more help, being able to discuss and resolve and brainstorm and be creative, the earlier we can do that, the better, because I think that's what also hurts us, when it seems like the board is presented with something, but we didn't have that initial conversation about it.
Sure.
I think that's where things kind of start going off to the left or right or whatever.
Sure.
And so I think that will help.
Duly
Yeah,
noted.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
One thing I would like to say, which I've discussed with you also, we're trying to push economical development for downtown.
Yes, sir.
If we're pushing that, we need to take care of the businesses that are also there during the day, not just the bars and restaurants. And I've owned bars and restaurants downtown. You have 3 gift shops that were in their initial footprint that you cut out. And then you mentioned the ones that said they didn't want to be there, but we didn't mention about all the other ones that did want to be in it. We didn't ask the people in Texas, do you mind if we cut you out? We didn't ask the people in the 400 block of Grant, do we want to cut you out? We didn't ask their opinion. You only had her walk that 1 block where I was complaining. And that's how I feel.
Sure.
And I feel that that block, when y'all decide, this is just what we're gonna do. And that's why I feel the board, we have no decisions. And that's what I told you. If y'all are gonna make the decisions like a previous director did, why do we have a play committee? Why do we have a board?
Yeah.
And I'm totally upset about that one. And I am.
Sure.
Because that's the one, and we use the excuse firing other ones. Somebody from that department has told me, no, that's not all of it, but that's a direction somebody wants us to go. So we can still get to the hospitals, we can still get to the other, and with cutting that out, even she said, well, John, we don't have enough things to fill up the streets. Our vendors are full, our food's full, then we said cut the car show back. So instead of the excuse saying we don't have enough to fill it, we need to work harder to fill it. Totally disappointed in this one, totally disappointed.
And that's,
And I'll tell you, it's not just me.
Sure.
Sandra Oaf, with the actor being cut out, she's not happy either. So the people that are busting their butt that own the brick and mortars, not the ones that lease brick and mortars, they're upset. And I think we need to work a little better on economical development downtown. Because, I mean, if you don't want the gift shops and we want it to be just bars and restaurants, say so. Because the ones you cut out, if they didn't have other jobs, those businesses wouldn't be there. We don't make enough profit to pay the employee, to pay the overhead. Our other jobs pay for that, because we're hoping it gets better.
sure.
So I would like a little more support from the city that says, yeah, we want to help you. We want to help you succeed. That one day sales isn't going to make us millionaires, but it sure makes it worthwhile being downtown.
Duly noted, John.
I think the other comment, and I know we're already, I'm speaking to next year, not this year, is we now have a contract with a contractor on a 10-month project for the OC Downtown Center.
Yes, sir.
And so that'll be a variable plus the city parking lot across the street. We need to go ahead and, immediately start planning how they are or not incorporate them, because that's
Yeah.
some other notable prime
Yeah.
real estate.
I agree, and as we think about things, we'll take John's point, because if we're migrating, that is gonna take it away from you.
Collaboratively early is my request.
Exactly. Yes, sir. I agree. Oh, Mr. Chairman, are there any other questions?
No, I'm good. I think we, the main focus is, we think everybody's doing a great job. I think that just, as a board, I have a responsibility to make sure that we're involved in these decisions and to bring it up.
Sure.
I wouldn't be doing my job if I just kind of say, hey, well, it's kind of, we want to make sure it's just addressed at the meeting so that we know that in the future, we're involved in all these decisions.
Yeah.
And that's all we're doing.
And as I said, I think boards in the past have been more engaged than others.
Yeah.
We certainly understand that this board wants to be more engaged. And I will tell you, from a staff perspective and a city's perspective, we don't do things arbitrarily because we don't like this person or like that.
Oh, sure, yeah.
We take all factors into consideration.
Yeah.
And that's what drives our decision. It's not personal, it's
Yeah.
not anything else other than what makes sense.
Sure, absolutely. But other than that, I think I've covered anybody else's questions.
Thank you, guys.
All right, next, number 4, event update, Tacos and Tequila, May 14th.
Yes, so Tacos and Tequila was a partnered event with the West Texas Radio Group. It was very hot. It was oddly timed. They opened their gates at 3 p.m., shut it down at 9 p.m. They had probably 60% of their participants show up at 8 when it was cooling off. So we have since had a meeting with the radio station. We are looking at other options for the location, like you guys had talked about. That was $35 to get in, and it really impeded business on that day. So we're looking at other options, maybe Texas, maybe over one street. So we're kind of looking at that, and I will definitely, whenever we have our meeting with them, bring that to you guys and get y'all's input, because we need to make sure that it's going to be beneficial. So any events that we have need to be beneficial for the downtown businesses. So they are planning to have it again next year, but they're looking at starting it later because it was just very, very hot. So we're thinking maybe 5 or 6 p.m. and then go until 11 p.m. Because at 9 o'clock, when it was time to go home, people were just getting revved up, and it was a lot getting people off the street at 9 when they were like, it finally cooled off. Yeah, finally cooled off, and we were ready to go. So they do plan on doing that again. We did have a follow-up meeting to kind of talk about things that worked, things that didn't, and the time, footprint, things like that were all discussed. So when we start doing our planning meetings, usually in January, I'll make sure that the board is included in those conversations. Fandango, everybody should have got logistics meeting notes. I know that you guys want to know what's going on, and so I wanted to make sure that I'm providing you all the information. So we just had our logistics meeting, and when we have those, that's PD, fire, streets, all the city employees, health department, things like that. So I just updated these notes from this morning's meeting, and I wanted to make sure that I provided them to you guys. It kind of gives you a rundown for what to expect during Fandango, what time things are arriving. It also has a list of like all of the food trucks. All of those are listed out for you guys. It talks about the fireworks and porta potties, how many we rented, when they're coming, who we rented them from. Anything over $1,000 we have to get bidded out through the city, so we got 3 bids on everything from generators, light towers, barricades, fencing, all of our vendors we have to get 3 quotes on. So this kind of tells you what the general run of show is going to be, what time things are starting. It'll all start with barricades getting dropped off at 5 a.m. So we have load-in times. Audrey and Deshawn and I are having meetings every evening this week with food truck vendors, alcohol vendors, volunteers, and market vendors, so that we can give them a pre-event meeting. Health inspectors and fire will also be at those meetings. So we're really hoping to avoid any issues day of. We're trying to get all their questions answered, make sure that they have all their insurance, all their certificates, and everything ready to go this week. So if they need to add anything extra, it can be done before the day of the event. So the day of the event, everybody should show up, know exactly what they need to have, and be ready to go. Like I had said, Mr. Rodriguez, that we're just waiting, and then Audrey and I will call you and Jamie, and we'll get that set up so that we can do how you guys want that car show to look. We currently have them coming in at 3 p.m. That's the latest that we have somebody coming. They'll be the last to load in, and then we'll talk about how you want to do the event, when you want to judge, what that will look like, how you want to do awards, if you do want to announce the awards. I had thought we have a 30-minute gap on the main stage between Tommy Tarango and Rick Trevino coming up. So if you guys do want to do like a trophy presentation, we can schedule that in that 30-minute gap so that they feel like they're being presented something. And so I thought that might be something. We hadn't originally planned that, but we hadn't originally had awards. And then you guys stepped up to kind of do that for us. So
Well, people will be happy. We have more awards than we have cars. I mean,
Yeah.
so we,
Yeah.
we're capping off at what, 30 cars?
yeah,
And I think we've got like
20, yeah.
45, so I think everybody gets a trophy in this
That's
one.
awesome.
So I
Yeah.
think that it's a good bad thing. I
Good,
think, you know, it's a free event, you know, I think people
Yes.
enjoy it, and I think next year, I think you'll get more participation. Actually, we turned out a lot of people, you know, because we knew we were capping off at 30,
Yes,
so.
yeah.
But, you know, maybe next year we can add a little more space or something like that, once, I guess, you'll see things done.
Yes,
and
yeah,
figure out what
absolutely.
goes on with that map, but. we can draw a lot
I
of
came
people
in and
for it.
I knew Fandango would be a monster. I had no idea what size monster it would be.
Yeah,
But we're getting it done, so it's been a lot. I have to make sure that we're saying thank you to Audrey and to Deshawn. Audrey has gone above and beyond and worked a lot of hours, and we've been calling and trying to organize, and so she's been a huge help. So I want to make sure that we acknowledge her. But that's kind of where we're at for Fandango. We've got everything in place. We have 20 food trucks, which was our goal. We have 28 market vendors. 30 was our goal. We had another one call us this morning, but we're having to cap it off at some point. So we're done adding vendors for the market. Audrey and I brought in about $35,000 in sponsorships in the last 3 weeks. So we're really excited about that. We were a little bit slim there. That was on the back burner, and we have kind of done one more push and started reaching out to folks. I know Mr. Castillo just jumped on yesterday, and so we're very thankful for that. So we've got a lot going on. But it should be a really good event. We have everything as organized as we can think to have it. There's always those things that jump at last minute, but I think we're pretty good. And we will, of course, continue to keep you guys in the loop and do a better job of making sure that you're in the loop. And next year, we have it set on the calendar to start talking about it January. So in your January meeting, we will open the discussion for potential map changes, kind of reevaluate what this year looked like, what worked, what didn't, and then that way we can have the conversation early and not be stressed out, like Mr. Cruz said, 2 weeks before the event. So we'll make sure that we open up that conversation for sure. Hot Summer Nights. Currently going at the Ector for June. We have one more concert at the Ector this weekend on Friday. The attendance has been pretty good. We've seen about 300 people at each concert so far. In July, we'll move to the park. In the past, we have not actually barricaded the road. We've coned it, but not technically closed it. I spoke with PD and they are requesting that we barricade it. So that was a new expense, but I totally understand. So we're gonna rent barricades. The city has been kind enough for us to rent them, and then they're gonna store them. So instead of the barricade coming out, the company coming out Friday at 6 to drop off and then back at 11 to pick up, they're gonna drop off Friday, that first Friday, July 8th, and then the city will pick up and then pick up, and then the barricade company will pick up the last Friday in July. So that they're taking on that responsibility, and it takes a big expense from us away of delivery and drop off every week. So we're really excited to have the city do that for us. They're also going to fill them for us. And then porta potties, I know in the past we've had them dropped off and then locked, and they stayed out there for the full month. We're not doing that this year. They're going to drop them off and pick them up every Friday. It just seemed like a little bit of an issue to have the porta potties out there for the full month of July. And then also, I know there was issues with the homeless using them or breaking into them even when they were locked. So to avoid any problems, we're just gonna have them picked up and dropped off every Friday. And we have 2 regular, 1 ADA, and a hand washing station for the park. So every Friday that'll happen. And then the last Friday, July 29th, the last Hot Summer Nights, we were reached out to by the Painted Potter. She wants to do an art show, and so we thought we could do it in conjunction with Hot Summer Nights. So that last Friday, July 29th, will be the Battle of the Bands winner at Hot Summer Nights, and then the Painted Potter is going to set up. We'll already have 4th Street shut down. She has 30 art vendors that are coming out that are local, that wanna sell their art. So that will be really good. We're gonna open a little bit earlier that day. We're gonna open up the art market at 6:30 instead of normally people start showing up around 7. We're gonna get advertising on that. And so that should be a combined event, but it should be really fun. Again, it'll still be free, so. West Texas Fest, I'm sorry, I skipped over one. The West Texas Ford Truck Mafia Memorial Car Show was scheduled for June 18th. They canceled that. I didn't have any information on it, but we kept calling and found them on Facebook, and it was canceled. So they're looking at potentially doing it next year, but they just didn't have time. They said that it snuck up on them and they didn't have time to get it together for this year. So that we can cross off the list. The Lowriders Against Bullying Car Show is scheduled for August 19th and 20th. That's going to be on Texas. They're going to have a barbecue cook-off in the courthouse parking lot on Friday the 19th. And then Saturday the 20th, they're going to be on Texas Street, and they're going to have a concert and a car show. So we're working with them. Again, they've not ever barricaded it. So we're going to barricade it this year. We're looking at talking to them about barricades. It will have to be fenced in because they're going to sell alcohol. But they have partnered with ECISD, and they're asking everybody to bring backpacks, and that'll all get donated to the ECISD closet. So it'll be a great time for right back to school, and so they're asking for school supplies, backpacks, and all that. They're going to have barrels set up, and that's going to get you a discounted ticket to get in. So. West Texas Fest has agreed. We signed the contract. That's on September 24th. Again, that's going to be on Texas Street. They're going to have a concert, and it's going to be, we haven't got the exact location yet, but we know it's going to be on Texas, and they're looking at September 24th. Originally, that was going to be the first part of October, but there's a conflicting issue because they are United Way, and you can't have something about you can't have an event in October if you're affiliated in any way with United Way. So they've moved that to September 24th. And then lastly, October for our downtown art tour, we're still working with that. We're going to do a partner event with Odessa Arts. Our first art tour was really, really successful. We completely sold out despite the wind. We did really well. So we're thinking about doing a Day of the Dead theme for October in our art tour. We have several people who have already reached out to us who want to be featured artists during that art tour. So if you guys have any ideas, or you've been somewhere and seen a really cool art piece or something that would be beneficial for the art tour, make sure that you let me know, because I would love to reach out to them, or something that you would like to see in the art tour or any of our events. Just let us know, and we'll definitely incorporate it. So we're still working on that. Again, that'll be a partnered event with Odessa Arts.
Okay, Casey, can I ask a question?
Yes.
As it relates to the Dia de los Muertos event, are the artists going to be themed
Yes.
toward that?
We're hoping to have it themed towards that. So we were looking at the folklorical dancers. I know that the hotel is having an event, Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead event, and
That's the same thing.
they're having an event. So we're looking to see if that event's going to be on Saturday or Friday, because we'd really like to partner with them on that. And then we'd also kind of like to change up the route. We don't want to have people going the same way, and we want to make sure that we're sharing the love for the highlighting of the businesses that are downtown, and like Mr. Harris was saying, that we want to make sure that we're, highlighting different businesses and not showing favoritism to one or the other. So we want to show bars, and we want to show gift shops, we want to do all of that. So we're still working on the route. We're still looking for artists. So like I said, if you guys have ideas, let me know. We'd love to reach out to them. So, but yes, Day of the Dead themed if possible. So, any other questions on events?
Anybody? Good.
Perfect.
Number 5, old business, discussion of grants and status updates on businesses downtown.
So, Ambler Law had sent in, paperwork. It was just loose receipts of their Home Depot purchases, Lowe's purchases. It wasn't compiled, it wasn't organized. So we went back to them and told them that it has to be organized, it has to match what they turned in, so they're still working on that. I need to check in on them again, but, that's been out for quite some time. So we now have that 60-day rule where if they don't get it turned in within 60 days, they don't get reimbursed, but that wasn't in place when Ambler Law signed their contract, so we're just kind of hanging out with them. Same thing with Petty Cardio. We've reached out to them. I talked to them one time and they were gonna get back with me, and I haven't heard back from them. I've called them, I believe once a week for the past 4.5 weeks. I called them, and I haven't heard back from them. I know that they're still having issues getting everything done, and they were having contractor issues. So I will get a full update from them and have it ready for you in July. Icon, I know that you guys have started construction. They're making a lot of progress at Icon, and we're still on target to be open September, if not before then, so. Little McJack, they were submitted and approved. Work has begun. They were getting everything abated, and I've been in contact with those owners, and things are going really well, so. Documents were submitted. We did go to city council last week and it was approved. So I'm waiting, now it's in the little lull period between getting it from city council, now it goes to legal, it'll go to finance, it'll go to city manager. Part 2 will come in and sign their contract, and then we'll go from there. So it should be 2 weeks out, 2 to 3 weeks out before they can start construction. And then homemade wines, they submitted for infrastructure and facade. It's been through ODC and approved. I got a work session today at 3 o'clock to get it for city council. They are really excited. They've actually already started some of the work that is not covered by the grant. They were able to get started on some of that work, so they're hoping that it's a really quick turnaround there as well. And that's gonna go, in case you didn't know, on the corner of 4th and Texas. It's gonna be that big building right there on the corner of 4th and Texas. Any questions on grants? I have talked to 3 others who are looking at potentially purchasing downtown, and then 2 that are looking at renting downtown, that are really interested in the grant program. We have billboards up for the grant program, and so we're really hoping to keep drumming up business and using that as an incentive for businesses to come downtown, so. Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is there a list compiled of all property that is owned by the city downtown, or any properties for sale or for lease? Where is that record that we could access it?
I don't know of a compiled list of everything owned by the city. I know downtown specifically.
Just downtown.
Okay.
I'm looking at just downtown.
I know I don't know that the city owns buildings downtown. We have 3 lots that are owned by the city. The old J.C. Penney's lot and the old Norma's lot that we just did the RFP on. Right, at 5th and Grant, and then at 7th and Texas, there's a lot there, but they're just lots as far as the city owned.
So if a person who's interested and wanted to purchase that, who do they submit to buy?
So both of those just went through the RFP process. We had 2 RFPs submitted on the 5th and Grant parcel of land. Nothing was submitted on Texas, so would they reach out to city manager to do the 7th and Texas lot? Yes, sir. And they can always call me. You can give them my phone number, my office number, or my cell phone, and I can help them out as well. And then as far as property not owned by the city, we have a list that I try to keep updated on our website, and then I usually refer them to either Mr. Harridge or to Tisha Golden, who is another realtor downtown. We created a flyer that just has both of the realtors' information that's downtown that works with us, and we send that out to them so that we can let them decide who they're gonna use.
What is the 50 Grant property, what price is that listed at? Is there a specific price that listed?
During the
or is
RFP
it-
process, there's not a price listed. How that process works is they submit it for what they want to. So sometimes they submit saying that they're not gonna pay for it, they want the city to gift it to them, and then they're gonna bring this to the table. Or if they are going to, they list their price, and then it's up to, I believe, city council to make that decision. So it's not actually a listed price.
Listed price. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, any questions, guys?
Did you make the comment that that RFP is now closed?
Yes, sir. Both of them are closed, yes.
Did we have submissions?
We had 2 submissions on the Fifth and Grant and no submissions on the Texas. Yes.
Well, I guess, anybody have any more questions? Are we good?
Just, can we put on our next agenda, we've talked probably for 5 years about a downtown business association. And that way, as long as we have this wonderful young gentleman that's great with graphics over here, and we do so many maps and throw on social media, just what businesses we have downtown. I think that would be great
Absolutely.
also. That would say, we've got from architects to this, to that, and other stuff. And maybe just a small nominal fee, $20 or something to be on the map until we get the association going, at least to cover supplies.
Like a business listing, is that what you're asking for?
We've asked for a downtown business association forever.
And we are in the process, Mr. Harris, of starting that. We have, what we've done is every business that we go out and talk with, we have a QR code that they can scan and sign up. So right now, it's just a small email list that we're trying to start compiling because that's gonna be a huge undertaking. But we figured if we could start getting everybody's email and contact and what they own, then that would help us in that process. So absolutely, that's on our wish list of things to start working on. And so my plan is once we get this new event coordinator in and we can kind of transition that work over to that position, I can really start focusing on the business list, the Downtown Business Association, kind of the for sale, get a good idea of what's for sale and make sure that that's all up to date, and really work towards being a point of reference for people wanting to come downtown and the businesses trying to come downtown. And I agree, I think that business list would be really beneficial because a lot of people don't know what's downtown. We hear that during a lot of our events, like I had no idea that was even down here. So we're working on that in the community calendar and things like that. So I will add that to the list and kind of make sure that we touch on that next month. Yes, sir.
Do we have any update on the Grant Street renovations, the lighting, sidewalks, trees?
So we had again an RFP for companies to come in and kind of tell us, we have the master plan, and so now we needed someone to come in and kind of help us with implementation. We have selected someone to work on that implementation, and so we're looking at the next phase of kind of telling them what we would like to see, and then we send it off, and then they have, I think Mr. Merrill said it would take about 3 months for them to kind of come back and show us different options, different renderings of what that could look like, how far that $7 million could go, and where they would see that investment. And then it'll come back to the committee, and that committee will kind of look at that and see what's best.
If I could, does that include any town hall or any open discussion?
Yeah, so there is certainly a stakeholder component. So what we've done is that we've received the proposals. We've made a tentative recommendation that we will make to council ultimately, and they'll decide. What we're working on that is what is the defined scope, so we can have a price to present council. I think you know how this works. And so once the council either okays that or doesn't, but let's presume that they do, then the work of that stakeholder engagement process starts. And what we're talking about is not only deciding what goes where, but we're also talking about the engineering and design specifications so the work can get done. So it's much more than just, figuring out what goes where, but also the design components that would be necessary so we can start the actual construction.
Is that confined to Grant or?
Mr. Lawrence, that's a great question, and that's part of what we want to flesh out. I mean, the reality is that
How
while
far does the
seven,
funds go?
yeah, while the 7 million sounds like a lot, once you put it in construction, it's not. So, we've had discussions about where is that value going to be best situated. Is it better to spread a little around, or do we confine it to an area and really kind of build that up with the hopes that at some later point we get private investment doing it? So those will be part of that overall stakeholder engagement and discussion, because we'll have to decide how we're going to use the dollars and where will they be best utilized.
Does the state, since it's Grant, is the state, do they contribute anything to this project?
They probably will not. When they redid the road, that was really going to be their contribution, and they were going to look to the city to look at the sidewalks and all the other right-of-way spaces, if you will.
Unfortunately, just in my architectural opinion, a lot of dollars are going to go to things that we don't see as beautification or improvements because of all of the accessibility requirements and elevation changes that we have. It eats up a lot of dollars. If the world was, if everything was just had a minor grade difference between the street and the threshold of the business entry, if that was just this far apart and not this far, it'd be a different ballgame. So I appreciate the 7 million.
Yeah.
But I think to the layman, it may not seem like it's gonna go as far, but I understand why.
Well, and there are other things, for example, we want to get rid of all the areas, all the lines.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, just in the area around the conference center, that was incredibly expensive because now you're
Yeah.
burying all that conduit. So those things will all be components of it. So again, our hope is, and I know the hope of the council will be, is to get as much as we can and make as big as impact as we can with that.
And so we have a schedule, after 3 months, then we take another look at it? Is that right?
So what happens next, Mr. Lawrence, is that we're gonna define the scope with them, and that'll give us what the cost of their services will be. We'll need to take that to the council, and then they'll begin that stakeholder engagement. And I would say it's gonna, in order to get plan sets and specifications for construction, it's gonna be a lot more than 3 months.
Yeah.
But that's when that process will officially start. Yes, sir.
So anything with the city, when you finally make a decision, it takes a couple of years to see progress.
No, John, that's not true.
Just
We're very
sometimes.
deliberate, we're very deliberate in what we do.
We
Y'all
get
wanna
one,
put-
we get one shot at it. We got to.
Yeah.
It's gonna be right.
Yes, sir.
Once we-
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to put 7 million around Icon Tavern, that's perfectly fine with me. I'd be glad to submit that to the council, see if that.
My comment is not on this, it's back to Fandango.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned some of the volunteer maybe reaching out to first responder departments to see if some of the folks in the academy can come help at the gates. I don't know, I'm sure there's internal discussions on safety and, and that kind of thing. Can we have, trying to remember to work in the gates at previous Fandangos, tapping downtown, all of that. I think it does help for sense of security, or maybe even to deter things. If we could have first responder vehicles parked near the entrances. And I would like to know how much on-duty first responder, police and fire will have in the event itself.
So PD
People
will.
want to see presence in, the people I care about that have an opinion that tell me things, they definitely want to see a presence of that. Because
Yes,
it doesn't hamper the mood of any
No,
public
absolutely not.
event.
So PD will have.
You don't care about it.
Yeah.
PD will have 4 at the fireworks shoot-off spot, so 4 officers will be there. They will have 10 walking the footprint and 1 in the VIP area specifically.
And
So,
they'll have some that you won't even see.
right,
Perfect.
yes.
They usually stage vehicles and.
There will be vehicles staged throughout. They also have an incident command post. They're gonna bring their, big I don't know what it's called, but that big
Mobile
armored,
command center.
yes, the mobile command center. That's gonna be out. They'll have the drone out. They will have, EMS will have their, smaller emergency vehicles, like the ATVs, that they can be out roaming.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
so.
think some folks may be a little.
And that's not including the PD and EMS cadets. We're hoping to have 10 from
Especially if they're in
each.
uniform, I think
Yes,
that'd be nice.
yes, so, we have thought about that, especially, you know, in today's climate, you never know. We did, just so that you guys know, we did ask PD if we needed to do, like the no gun allowed in this area. Unfortunately, we can't, because it's not an actual, building. Yes, it's an open space, and so in Texas, you have open carry, and it would have to be in a building that's more than 51% alcohol. We won't have that at Fandango, so we can't put those signs out, but that was a question that I did ask if that was something that we could put out, but unfortunately it's not, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir, yes, we will have, lots of
Sounds like there's quite a
officers.
presence, yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, absolutely. So their command post is gonna be right on the corner of Third and Grant. That's not gonna be a public entrance, but they will have, a little gate area so that they can drive their, emergency vehicles around through there. That's kind of where they'll be stationed. That's also where first aid will be stationed. We made sure to list that on the map in case anybody needed it. And that's also, if there is a lost and found, you never know, we listed that on the map as well, so that can be easily available. If anybody needs it, they'll go straight to that area. There will be either a PD or an EMS worker there at all times, and they can kind of guide them in the right direction. We're borrowing 8 radios from fire, so that all my lead volunteers, myself, Audrey, and Jashawn, will all have a radio that connects directly to EMS and police. If there is an incident, we'll have direct communication with them. We won't have to get on our cell phones and call. So we'll make sure that all of our leads have it, one in every area, and then myself, Audrey, and Jashawn, and we'll be on a special, yes, we'll be on that, so that we're not interacting with or interfering with anything else. But that way we have a direct issue. You know, I mean, it's going to be very hot, so if we have anybody that needs immediate medical assistance, we can just radio that in, and they'll know exactly where to come. So we'll have that direct line to them. So.
Any other questions?
And you guys are getting VIP passes, so the entire board, we're extending that to you guys, you and your +1. So we will have all of those passes at the Rose Building. We're gonna have a volunteer there. You'll just go and tell them that you're with the board, and we'll make sure that we get it out to you. So we're offering the VIP passes to the board and to city council and city management staff. So that'll all be there and ready to go. We're gonna have a really cool photo booth in that VIP area. So it should be really cool. We did a special one for the VIP, and then there'll be just the regular 360 out for the general public we've paid for as well. That'll be free for everyone, so. Alright.
This does look good. Creative marketing nerds, they do a good job.
They did a great job, and they've been very patient with us, as we've, nitpicked it as much as we could. I know that, Randy Ham was also disappointed that the Ector was cut out, but in all of our marketing, all of our flyers, we've made sure to mention Battle of the Bands we have it on this map. So we've tried to be as accommodating as we possibly could in this situation. But yeah, we're hoping that this is a really clear map for the public. We wanted to list the food trucks that we knew were gonna be there and show them where the restrooms are, and so hopefully this will be beneficial to the folks coming. So I know in the original map it did have an arrow showing where the fireworks were gonna be shot off, but PD requested that be removed.
So there will be a QR code at the gate so people can pull this
That's
out.
right. These are I'm doing giant copies of these. They'll be 3x5s. on one side, the sponsors on the other side, and we'll have QR codes throughout the footprint that you can just scan. This will be on our website, on our social media, it's going to the newspaper, and so it should be readily available to anybody that wants it.
So can we use this as the final now?
This is the final, yes ma'am.
All right, any other questions? We're good? Meeting adjourned.
Awesome.